It's called Praise Poem for John Parda. And when I say John Parda, then you say John Parda. And now we will have the rehearsal. John Parda.
John Parda.
Okay, next time do it more in unison, okay? Surprise, John Parda.
John Parda.
To celebrate this brilliant day, the neighbors scheme and whisper while you shuffle cards and caper in the sudden sun. John Parda.
John Parda.
Leprechaun with silver curls, you hold court and offer comfort, bent in the body, limber in wit, with a yen for mischief and a heart of gold. John Parda.
John Parda.
You popped into May, rooted and footloose 69 years ago. Watch me worry, born to be wild, try a little tenderness. John Parda.
John Parda.
When you first held that tiny daughter, her head fit in the tip of my fingers and her body in the palm of my hand. Now the grandson, wise beyond his years, keeps you curious and near. John Parda.
John Parda.
Be merry, ageless in place, citizen mayor of Great River Terrace. So that is the poem.
Maybe Denise, do you want to share your story
Sure.
of how you got involved with buying a home?
So, back in 2012, I guess it started. I'm a single mother of 5 children. 4 of them are boys, and 1 of them is a girl. And we had been renting, and it's hard to rent when you have 5 children. People don't really look at you as a good option. So we had decided that we were going to go look around Bellows Falls for houses. And so we drove around. I found this road that I didn't know existed. And we went up it and we saw a for sale sign on a house. And my son Jack, at the time, I can't remember, he was young, he was still in elementary school, said, "Oh, Mom, I love that house. I really love that house. I want that house." And I said, "Well, I don't know. It looks like it's out of our price range, but I will make a phone call on Monday and see what's going on." So I called on Monday and was told that the house had been taken off of the market because the homeowner was going to rent it out. Sitting in my office at Sevka a year later, and I get an email from Darlene Kelly. I didn't know Darlene Kelly, but she sends me a picture and she says to me, "I heard that you had been looking for a house in Bellows Falls, and I didn't know if you might be interested in this house." And I looked at the photos, and it was Jack's house. So I called Darlene immediately and made an appointment to go see the house and brought Jack and all the kids with me. And we toured the house, and it was Jack's house, and a couple months later we purchased the house. And we live there.
Impact. I think that the whole thing of serendipity is just actually kind of amazing. I think we all reflected on our lives and how things might not have been planned, but just serendipitously happened. And then it's great when you have the infrastructure of Windham Windsor Housing Trust to then help support that. So Susie, you have a totally different kind of story, which is fantastic.
So I had been working around the world doing peace building for 20 or 25 years, and we often would come back to Brattleboro, my husband and I, because we loved it here. And we were living in Palestine at the time that I was 43 and found out that I was pregnant. And I had wanted to be pregnant for a long, long time, so it was a dream come true to be finally pregnant. And we decided that we wanted to give birth and raise our son in Brattleboro. So after a couple of months in Palestine, which is another experience. Being pregnant there is fantastic, by the way, if any of you want to try that. We came back here, and so because I was now 44, when I had him, there was just no way I was going to bring him to daycare, even though we have amazing daycare here in Brattleboro. I just wanted every minute of the miracle that I got. So we decided that we would be a one-income family, and my husband got a job at Youth Services as a case manager with at-risk youth, and some of you may have had that job or currently have that job, and you're not getting rich quick at that job. Our landlord was intending to move back home with his family into our house that we were renting from them, and my husband said, let's buy a house. And my husband's Danish, and in Denmark things are fair, and ordinary folks can afford houses. And I just told him, we can't. We had no debt, but we also had no money. And he was an optimist. And somehow we found out about the classes that were at that time, I think it was called the Brattleboro Housing Trust. Wasn't it 10 years ago, Connie? I don't know.
Windham Housing Trust or Brattleboro Area Community Land Trust.
Okay, there we go. It had the word trust in it, and that worked.
Yeah.
So he said, let's take this class. And I honestly thought I would rather face like bullets and tanks and in the work that I've done, really, than walk into a room full of folks who have their housing shit together, and I don't. I just felt like I would be so shamed that I never spent the last 25 years collecting a down payment, and how could I be so foolish? And I didn't want to be outed for that embarrassing lack of foresight. But we spent, I guess it was like, I remember going 2 times, so maybe it was like 2 evening things or 2 Saturdays, I can't remember. But everyone was so nice and normal and kind and not treating us like idiots. And they said, yeah, people do it all the time. People like you buy houses. And that's how it happened. We made an appointment, we saw a house, we really liked it. It wasn't perfect. My son was 3, almost 4 at the time, very rambunctious, and the house had no yard. But we thought, well, we can't, we're just so lucky and grateful. And the day we went in to sign for the house, they said, our housing specialist at Windham, Windsor Housing Trust said, I don't think this is the exact program for you guys. I think that you could probably qualify for a house with USDA. And then I was like intimidated all over again. So she helped us go through that whole process, and we have our house.
I'm also very intrigued by your responses to sort of navigating from a rental situation to home ownership, which is really tremendous. But, in a rental situation, if you do have a good landlord or property manager, they can take care of a lot of things in the building, and suddenly, it's like, oh, the roof's leaking, or something. So if you could share some stories about, taking on the responsibility of ownership.
So initially I was really excited because my mortgage was a whole lot less money than my rent was. But then I got a little concerned and was like, oh, what if something happens? But my house is actually in really, really good condition, so I'm really lucky. So the thing that did happen, probably a year after we had moved in, is that my dishwasher stopped working. And I was like, oh great, now we're gonna need a new dishwasher. Well, my youngest son decided he would get on YouTube and figure out how to fix the dishwasher, and he was able to fix it, and it's still working. He also knows how to reset the washing machine.
We also we bought a house that was really in good shape, very strong, and these programs, I think that's what they want to make sure that you do, that you buy a house that's in good shape. But our house was cosmetically very, very ugly, and I thought, we don't know a thing about fixing houses. We never did, and nothing, gardening, nothing. And my husband, the optimist, said, I can do it. And I thought, sure. So So he did, we did. Of course, we didn't have money to hire anybody, so we call it Google, Dr. Google, or YouTube University. We just Googled everything and YouTubed everything. So all that fake paneling, you know, from the 70s, that veneer fake paneling, that was everywhere. We took all that down. There was maple underneath the carpets, so we were super lucky about that, except the kitchen had pine underneath the 3 layers of linoleum, which was really beautiful. And, you know, I learned how to finish floors. Any of you who've done that, is so super boring. And painting, of course. I figured out after so many years of renting and belonging in other people's homes that it's not that hard. Like, if any of you are thinking you can't do it, it's not that hard.
If you're interested in buying a home, things that I did not know, which was a lot of them, is that I only needed $2,000, and that kind of blew me away, because I was thinking I was going to need, like, I don't know, whatever you need, 20% down or whatever, and discovering that, and then working with Deb Boyd through the USDA. And one of the other things that was really positive that happened for us, so I have 2 medically fragile children, and Darlene helped me get a grant to have the carpeting taken out and having new floors put in. That was a huge, huge help, because that would have been a big upfront expense so that my home would be safe for my kids.
I think for me, the idea that we might not be rich in money, but we're rich in resources of friends and love, so that we live in a neighborhood where my son can be safe in other people's homes, and their sons, he just plays with boys, I'm sorry about that whole thing, that the kids can be back and forth in each other's homes, and it really feels like a neighborhood that I grew up in, and I hear other people lament, like, things aren't the way they were when I was a kid. Well, in our neighborhood, over by the high school, Home Street and Parkside, it's like it was when you were a kid, and I get to raise my son in that neighborhood. If I need something, I don't have to buy it. There's 4 of our families that share the lawnmower. There's 4 of our families that share the snowplow. So it's a family I got, not just a house.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert.
I thank Windham Windsor Housing Trust.